are watching PBS, viewer-supported public television.
Funding for this program was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.
Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
Really, you must be more careful. You rabbits are really something. You think you can thunder all around the countryside, wherever you like, without looking out for pedestrians. Well, apology accepted, Rabbit. Next time I'm out for a walk, I think I'll wear a rabbit catcher, the way some engines have cow catchers. A cow catcher is kind of a, well, it's sort of a, here, let me show you one. You whistle. I can't tell my stories without it, can I? I must have dropped it. I will tell you. It's not here in the lost and found box. I suppose that means it hasn't been found. Maybe I should look for my whistle in the lost but not found box. Maybe a train took it away by accident. After all, didn't a train once take a cricket ball by accident? I'd like to tell you that story, but I haven't got a whistle. Wait, yes I have. Come on, think. Whistles don't just disappear into thin air. I must have put it down somewhere. Unless, of course, a ghost took it. No, that's nonsense. Even Thomas the Tank Engine doesn't believe in ghosts. Not anymore, anyway. What we have here is a mystery to solve. Of course, some people find mysteries kind of scary. Even Percy. Sorry to bother you, Mrs. Bird. Well, I know that you birds are very honest. It's just that you have been known to borrow shiny metal things, and I'm desperate. A conductor without his conductor's whistle is like a frog without a lily pad, like a hula without a hoop, like Peter Sam without a special funnel. Mrs. Bird, would you mind whistling? Thanks, Mrs. Bird, for delivering this. I forgot. I gave it to Thomas to give to Sir Topham Hatt to have it polished. Looks nice, doesn't it? Thomas always comes through somehow. He's what I'd call a really useful engine.
He's a really useful engine, you know. All the other engines, they'll tell you so. He huffs and puffs and whistles, rushing to and fro. He's a really useful engine we adore. He's the one, he's the one. He's the really useful engine like we adore. He's the one, he's park on
PTV, it's fun here!
Funding for this program was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.
Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
Let go! I mean it, Robin. Give it back right now. Same to you. Honestly, you're starting to turn into a real pest. This is a gift from my neighbors, the squirrels. You can't just swoop down and take it without a by your leave. Whatever a by your leave is, I suppose it means please. Some of you animals are so badly behaved, I sometimes think you're no better than coaches. If you know what I mean. I told you it's for the squirrels. I'll bring you something tomorrow. Of course, coaches aren't the worst problem. Not by a long chalk. Whatever a long chalk means, I suppose it has something to do with keeping score in chalk. But freight cars are even more badly behaved than coaches. I remember when Thomas was very new, he encountered some really naughty freight cars. Where are those squirrels anyway? Late, as usual. Say what you will about squirrels, they aren't dependable creatures. What they are is cheeky. And those squirrels are cheekier than most. Scatter, scatter, chatter, chatter. I swear, sometimes they remind me of that freight car Scruffy. What a dreadful time he gave to poor Oliver. Stay away! That cookie is for the squirrels, not for you. Go! Now! Shoo! It isn't birds, it's mice. Mice, birds, squirrels, pests, the lot of them. Trouble, trouble, trouble. Yes, they are coming. Wretched squirrels. You know, I have half a mind to give this food to Mr. Robin after all. It's not as if I had all day. Come to think of it, I do have all day. But it's the principle of the thing. Those squirrels, they're as thoughtless as freight cars. You're quite welcome. No trouble at all. My pleasure. Lovely people, squirrels. I'm sorry I called them pests, but they are a lot like railroad cars. They're best once they've been trained. Trained. And now, this musical finale.
Returning to the good old days.
Funding for this program was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.
Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
Dear Becky, how are things going at summer camp? Everything is fine here at the station, except tonight I have insomnia. I can't sleep. So, since I am bound to be awake for a while, I have decided to catch up on my my letter writing. I wonder how I should send this letter. Special delivery? Airmail? No, not airmail. I'll make sure it gets on the post train. Dear Kit, I hope your fishing trip with your Uncle Billy is lots of fun and that you are catching a lot of fish. I also hope you are putting them back in the water after you catch them. This is very important. Some of my best friends are fish, and they all say they don't mind being caught as long as they're put back. Yours truly, Mr. Conductor. I sure hope this letter gets delivered all the way to Billy Two Feathers fishing camp. I know it would if Tom Tipper were on the job. I wish I felt sleepy. I wish I could yawn. I wonder if I can. No, I guess you can't make yourself yawn. I always yawn when I see someone else yawn. But there's no one else here. Oh, well. Dear Kara, how is your visit to your grandpa's going? Just grand, I hope. Here at the station, everything is normal, meaning our old friend Schemer is up to his usual tricks. He's as silly as Duncan. So you see what I mean, Kara, about Duncan being a difficult sort of engine. Of course, everything turned out all right in the end. Let's see. There must be someone I haven't written a letter to tonight. Becky, Kara, Kit, cousin. Oh, I know, my sister. How could I forget my own sister? Dear sis, how is every little thing on the island of Sodor? And how are you? I'm just writing to say that... What am I writing to say? Oh, I know. I'm just writing to say that I love you. Signed, your brother, me. Now, that's what I call a special letter. I'm glad to have all my letters written, but if I don't get to sleep soon, it'll be time to wake up, which is absolutely the worst time to fall asleep. There's only one thing left to try. A lullaby. Here goes.
Picture a land where the sky is so blue, a story for land of wonder, a magical island just waiting for you. Island of Sodor will make your dreams come true. Children all over the dream.
Funding for this program was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.
Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
We have to do something, but what? That windstorm last night completely wrecked the early bird's nest. They need help, but how? Well, yes, I suppose getting all the other birds to stage a benefit concert would help, but would they do it? Who should I ask? Well, I know Skylark is a wonderful singer, but she'd never do it. She's so stuck up. You know who Skylark reminds me of? That silly snob of an engine, Sir Handel.
Scarloey and Rheneas work on the railway that weaves round lakes and along mountain sides. Their coaches are filled with visitors, and the engines are proud to run the line, come rain or shine. Let their passengers down, but they are old and they tire more easily. Their drivers understood this and they spoke kindly to them. There's more than enough work for both of you on this railway. The manager is sending 2 more engines to help us run the line. Scarloey and Rheneas were pleased with this news and promised to give the new engines a big welcome. When Sir Handel and Peter Sam arrived, they found they had much to learn. What a small shed, grunted Sir Handel. This won't do at all. We're much too good for this old shack. I think it's nice, said Peter Sam. Huh, replied Sir Handel. What's that rubbish? Shh, said Peter Sam. That's Scarloey. He's famous. And then he whispered to Scarloey. I'm sorry, Scarloey. Sir Handel's upset now, but he's quite nice, really. Scarloey felt sorry for Peter Sam. Now, Sir Handel, said the fireman, I will get you ready for work. I'm tired. Let Peter Sam go. He'd love it. No, you're first. Sir Handel puffed away to fetch his coaches. He didn't like the look of them at all. Whatever next? Those aren't coaches, they're cattle cars. Woo! Screamed the coaches. What a horrid engine! It's not what I'm used to, clanked Sir Handel. He rolled to the platform just as Gordon arrived. Hello, who are you? I'm Gordon. Who are you? I'm Sir Handel. I've heard of you. You're an express engine. So am I. But I'm used to new coaches, not these cattle cars. Do you have new coaches? I see you do. We must have a chat. Sorry I can't stop. We must keep time, you know. Gordon was speechless. Clouds of steam filled the air as Sir Handel huffed and puffed along the line. He was still cross when they reached the top station. Sir Handel was hoping for a rest, but his driver thought otherwise. We'll leave the coaches now and fetch some cars from the quarry. Cars, snorted Sir Handel. Cars. I won't. So there. Sir Handel was about to cause a great deal of trouble. Told you, said Sir Handel. By the time workmen came to rescue him, Sir Handel was feeling rather silly. To make matters worse, there stood Sir Topham Hatt. His message to Sir Handel was brief and blunt. I shall talk to you later. Then he and the fireman left with Peter Sam. Sir Handel felt sillier still. Come on, said his driver. Let's get you back on the rails. When Sir Handel crawled home, he found Sir Topham Hatt waiting for him. You're a very naughty engine. I hope I can trust you to behave when you next come out of this shed. After hearing that, I'm sure Sir Handel will, aren't you?
I will call her. Give me a minute. I have to rehearse a bit. Skylark? I was wondering if you'd be so kind as to perform a song or two at a benefit concert to help the early birds? She hung up on me. Who does she think she is? I told you, someday that stuck-up Skylark will learn her lesson, just the way Sir Handel did.
Sir Handel is very proud of his big, sturdy wheels. They have broad tires and hold well to the rails, but they are unusual. One day, the other engines wouldn't stop teasing him. Look at his steamroller wheels, they joked. Be quiet, snorted Sir Handel. You're jealous. Don't worry, soothed Peter Sam. The engines all teased me about my special funnel until they learned how useful it is. Did you hear that? Huffed Sir Handel. My wheels are special, like Peter Sam's funnel. I can go faster than any of you. Skarloey had a plan to make Sir Handel see sense. With your grand wheels, Sir Handel, said Skarloey, you're just the engine to tackle George. Who's George? That steamroller over there, replied Skarloey. Listen. The steamroller was making rude remarks about the engines. Railways are no good. Turn them into roads. Pull them up. Turn them into roads. Railways are no good. Turn them into roads. Pull them up. Turn them into roads. Don't worry, said Sir Handel. Leave him to me. I'll send him packing. George will soon get a run for his money. Later that morning, George was at the level crossing. Huh. You're Sir Handel, I suppose. Sir Handel was standing no nonsense. And you, I suppose, are George? Yes, I've heard of you. And I've heard of you. You swank around with your steamroller wheels, pretending you're as good as me. Actually, I'm better. Goodbye. George chuffered on, fuming. Later that day, Sir Handel brought a special load down after the last train had gone. When he had reached the road, he saw George traveling home. Sir Handel tried to attract his attention. Beep, beep, beep. George took no notice. There was barely room to pass. Sir Handel was cross. Get out of my way, you great clumsy road hog. I don't move for imitation steamrollers. You don't know the road. Get out of my way. Then there was trouble. Ah! Cried Sir Handel. That was your fault. No, it wasn't. It was yours. Everyone was arguing about who was to blame. Hello, 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 said a policeman ominously. And what's going on here? This made everyone stop arguing. They set to work clearing up the mess instead. Next day, the workmen put up a fence between the road and the railway. Then they went away, taking George with them. Sir Handel thought he had made George go away. talked of nothing but steamrollers. Oh, dear, whispered Scarloey. He's worse than ever. I'm sorry my plan was no good. Never mind, said Rusty. We'll think of something else. But they had no need to do that. Some boys arrived instead. They pointed to the engine and cried, "Look, here's Sir Handel. He tried to race a steamroller, but the steamroller nearly beat him." Sir Handel never mentioned steamrollers now. I know she didn't really hang up on me because I didn't really call her. But imagine how I'd feel if she had. No, we'll have to get someone else to perform. What about Old Brown the Owl? That Who song of his is always a hit. We'll call it The Who, live in concert. He's not too advanced in years to do it. Remember how old Edward came through when James needed help?
One day, James had to wait at the station till Edward and his train came in. This made him cross. Late again! Edward laughed and James fumed away. After James had finished his work, he went back to the yard and puffed onto the turntable. He was still feeling very bad-tempered.
Edward is impossible,
He grumbled to the others.
he clanks about like a lot of old iron, and he is so slow, he makes us wait.
Thomas and Percy were indignant. Old iron? Slow? Why, Edward could beat you in a race any day. Really, said James. I should like to see him do it. Next morning, James's driver was suddenly taken ill. He could hardly stand, so the fireman uncoupled James ready for shunting. James was impatient. Suddenly, the signalman shouted. There was James puffing away down the line. All traffic halted, called the signalman. Then he told the fireman what had happened. Two boys were on James's footplate fiddling with the controls. Phew. They tumbled off and ran when James started. The signalman answered the telephone. Yes? He's here. Right. I'll tell him. The inspector's coming at once. He wants a shunter's pole and a coil of wire rope. What for? Wondered the fireman. Search me, but you'd better get them quickly. The fireman was ready when Edward arrived. The inspector saw the pole and the rope. Good man, jump in. We'll catch him, puffed Edward. James was laughing. What a lark, he chuckled to himself. Suddenly, he was going faster and faster. He realized that he had no driver. What shall I do? I can't stop. Help! Help! We're coming, called Edward. Edward was panting up behind with every ounce of steam he had. At last, he caught up with James. Steady, Edward, called his driver. The inspector stood on Edward's front, holding a noose of rope in the crook of the shunter's pole. He was trying to slip it over James's buffer. The engines swayed and lurched. At last, got him, he shouted. He pulled the noose tight. Gently braking, Edward's driver checked the engine speed, and James's fireman scrambled across and took control. So, the old iron caught you after all, chuckled Edward. I'm sorry, whispered James. Thank you for saving me. You were splendid, Edward. That's all right, replied Edward. The engines arrived at the station side by side. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. A fine piece of work, he said. James, you can rest and then take your train. I'm proud of you, Edward. You shall go to the works and have your worn parts mended. Oh, thank you, sir, said Edward. It'll be lovely not to clank.
I called Owl. He sleeps all day, but I got his answering machine. I left a message, but I doubt he'll show up. I suppose we could ask Cuckoo, but he's so cheeky. Cuckoo's every bit as cheeky as Thomas the Tank Engine.
It was a beautiful morning on the island of Sodor. Thomas the Tank Engine's blue paint sparkled in the sunshine as he puffed happily along his branch line with Annie and Clarabelle. He was feeling very pleased with himself. Hello, Thomas, whistled Percy. You look splendid. Yes, indeed, boasted Thomas. Blue is the only proper color for an engine. Oh, I don't know. I like my brown paint, said Toby. I've always been green. I wouldn't want to be any other color either, added Percy. Well, anyway, huffed Thomas, blue is the only color for a really useful engine. Everyone knows that. Percy said no more. He just grinned at Toby. Later, Thomas was resting when Percy arrived. A large hopper was loading his freight cars full of coal. Thomas was still being cheeky. Careful, he warned. Watch out with those silly cars. Go on, muttered the cars. And by the way, went on Thomas, those buffers don't look very safe to me. The last load poured down. Help, help, cried Thomas. Get me out. Percy was worried, but he couldn't help laughing. Thomas's smart blue paint was covered in coal dust from smokebox to bunker. Ha ha, chuckled Percy. You don't look really useful now, Thomas. You look really disgraceful. I'm not disgraceful, choked Thomas. You did that on purpose. Get me out. It took so long to clean Thomas that he wasn't in time for his next train. Toby had to take Annie and Clarabelle. Poor Thomas, whispered Annie to Clarabelle. They were most upset. Thomas was grumpy in the shed that night. Toby thought it a great joke, but Percy was cross with Thomas for thinking he had made his paint dirty on purpose. Fancy a really useful blue engine like Thomas becoming a disgrace to Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Next day, Thomas was feeling more cheerful as he watched Percy bring his cars from the junction. The cars were heavy and Percy was tired. Have a drink, said his driver. Then you'll feel better. The water column stood at the end of the siding with the unsafe buffers. Suddenly, Percy found that he couldn't stop. The buffers didn't stop him either. Oh, wailed Percy. Help! The buffers were broken, and Percy was wheel deep in coal. It was time for Thomas to leave. He had seen everything. Now Percy has learned his lesson, too, he chuckled to himself. That night, the two engines made up their quarrel. "I didn't cause your accident on purpose, Thomas," whispered Percy. "You do know that, don't you?" "Of course," replied Thomas, "and I'm sorry I teased you. Your green paint looks splendid again, too. In future, we'll both be more careful of coal."
So, that lets out Skylark, Owl, and Cuckoo. Is there anyone else to ask? Blue Jay? Surely you jest. You know what Blue Jay is. The bully of the neighborhood. You don't really think he'd offer to help the early birds, do you? All right, I'll ask him. But he'll never do it. Blue Jay's as mean as that Diesel. Stepney's visit to Sir Topham Hatt's railway was coming to an end. "We shall miss you," said Sir Topham Hatt. Then he turned his attention to all the other engines. "My railway is very busy, and I'm pleased with you, but you need help. A diesel is all that's available. Please do your best to avoid any disturbances." "What does that mean?" whispered Duck.
That means this diesel is difficult.
Snapped James. And he was. The diesel surveyed the shed. "Not bad. I've seen worse. At least you're all clean." The engines glared. "It's not your fault, but Sir Topham Hatt should scrap you and get engines like me. A fill of oil, a touch on the starter, and I'm off. No bother, no waiting. They have to fuss round you for hours before you're ready." The engines were furious. Next morning, they held an indignation meeting round the turntable. "Disgraceful.
Disgusting.
Despicable. To say such things to us," cried Donald and Douglas. "It's to teach them a lesson we'd be wanting. Now, how do we do it?" Their chance came sooner than expected. The diesel was purring comfortably. An inspector watched a fitter making final adjustments. The wind tugged at the inspector's hat. The diesel was ready. "Look at me, Duck and Stepney. Now I'll show you something." He rolled proudly toward his coaches. Then it happened. Shaking and spluttering, the diesel stopped. Meanwhile, the inspector was looking for his hat. The diesel seethed with fury as Duck and Stepney pushed him back to the shed. "My hat!" exclaimed the inspector. "You've sucked it through your air intake." "Bother your hat. The heavy train's due out. You'll have to take it, Duck. Stepney, will you help, please?" "Thank you, sir," cried Stepney. "I'd like a good long run on my last day." The engines were soon ready. "Gordon will take over from halfway, so get the train to there. Good luck." "Don't worry," smiled Stepney. "We'll get there, and be early, too." The cavalcade moved carefully over the rails and out to the open line. "Now for a sprint," puffed Stepney. "I'm ready when you are," replied Duck. Soon they were whizzing through Edward Station. And next they charged at Gordon's Hill beyond. They felt the drag of the heavy coaches here. It was hard work. At last they were running smoothly along the line toward the big station. "Hello, you're early," said Gordon. "That's one in the headlamp for old Diesel. James says he's sick as boiler sludge and sulking in the shed. Serves him right for saying we're out of date." And Gordon chortled away. Next day, everyone came to say goodbye to Stepney. Come back and see us soon, whistled the engines. And you are always welcome on my Bluebell Railway, too, replied Stepney. Then he puffed away. And what about Diesel? He'd slipped out while no one was looking. But he left two things behind. A rather nasty smell and a battered bowler hat. Just listen to that. Everyone we asked showed up to help the early birds. Fine feathered friends, that's what I'd call them. There's a lesson in this for all of us. I just can't think of what it is. Oh, I remember.
Thomas was so terrible, the tractor plowing in a field one day, and he said, "My oh my, you do look funny. Where are your wheels? Are your wheels? Are your wheels? However do you move along? You really do look funny." Sure enough, one winter's day, when the snow lay deep and hard, Thomas got stuck, he was in trouble. Came along and rescued him that day. The song didn't matter to Terence the tractor. Now Thomas understands. Don't judge a book by its cover. You make your mind up too soon. Things aren't necessarily always what they appear to be. Don't judge a book by its cover. You make your mind up too soon. Never, 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 never judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a book by its cover. You make your mind up too soon. Things aren't necessarily always what they appear to be. Don't judge a book by its cover. Just remember the rule. Never, 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 judge a book by its cover. Thomas the Tanner is rolling along. All of his friends will be coming along. Thomas, we love you. Thomas, we love you. Thomas, we
Like stories, trains, and magic? Well, you've come to the right place.
Funding for this program was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.
Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
36, 37, 38. What? Did you say something? Don't come too close. I've got the sniffles. I'll be with you in a minute. I have to finish counting these tickets. My job, you know. Now, where was I? 30 something. Oh, bother. Now I'll have to start all over again. I'm beginning to behave just like Duncan, aren't I? $39, 40. Exactly 40. Oh, excuse me. That was close. Imagine if I'd sneezed those tickets all over the... Achoo! Place. Patience, Mr. Conductor. Remember, patience worked for Duncan. No harm done. I've even remembered my count. It was 40 tickets, right? Now, all I have to do is... Uh-oh. There's one I missed. I don't suppose you could... No. Okay. I'll just kind of reach it with my foot and bring it over. Oh. See? That's what I get for being in such a big hurry. Just like that silly bus birdie. Look. 39. 40. There. Finally. You see, the trouble with doing things in a hurry is it's a waste of time. I mean, you end up making mistakes, and then you have to start all over. And the whole business ends up taking you twice as long. I remember trying to explain that to young Peter Sam. Okay. Oh, I seem to be having what people call one of those days, don't I? I wonder why one of those days always means one of those horrible days. No one ever calls a good day one of those days. Ow, ow! Why, you... I oughta... What? Oh, I agree. At times like this, it is important to keep your sense of humor. Do fish catch colds? Because I've been thinking, having a bad day is a lot like having a cold. You can't do anything about it. You just have to remember that you'll get over it soon. I'm sure I'll feel much better tomorrow. You've been a wonderful audience. So here's a song just for you.
Sometimes it's nice to take some time out. Do what you really want to do. Just to relax and let the world go by. Forget your worries, no need to hurry. Just leave a sign to say. Gone fishing, sunny days you're on your way. Gone fishing, gone fishing, sunny days you're on your way. Why don't we all go fishing? There's nothing better on a sunny day when all your work is done. Throw down your line, settle down. Surprise, surprise, look what you found. Gone fishing, sunny days you're on your way. Gone fishing, sunny days you're on your way. Why don't we all go fishing? Sunny days you're on your way. Gone fishing.
You are watching PBS, viewer-supported public television.
Funding for this program was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.
Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
Missy, did you ever wake up on an ordinary morning and wish it wasn't just another ordinary morning? Well, this morning I did. I said to myself, Self, I'm tired of coming home to the same old front door every day. It's time for something new and different. Adventure and excitement. I'm going to paint the door a different color. But what color? Not red and green stripes for sure, because of what happened to Henry the Green Engine. Remember that?
Once an engine attached to a train was afraid of a few drops of rain. It went into a tunnel and squeaked through its funnel and wouldn't come out again. The engine's name is Henry. His driver and fireman argued with him, but he would not move. The rain will spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes, he said. The conductor blew his whistle till he had no more breath and waved his flag till his arms ached, but Henry still stayed in the tunnel and blew steam at him. I'm not going to spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes for you. Then along came Sir Topham Hatt, the man in charge of all the engines on the island of Sodor. We will pull you out, said Sir Topham Hatt. But Henry only blew steam at him. Everyone pulled except Sir Topham Hatt, because, he said, my doctor has forbidden me to pull. But still, Henry stayed in the tunnel. Then they tried pushing from the other end. Sir Topham Hatt said, 1, 2, 3, push! But he didn't help. My doctor has forbidden me to push, he said. They pushed and pushed and pushed, but still Henry stayed in the tunnel. At last, Thomas came along. The conductor waved his red flag and stopped him. Everyone argued with Henry. Look, it has stopped raining, they said. Yes, but it will begin again soon, said Henry. And what would become of my green paint with red stripes then? Thomas pushed and puffed and pushed as hard as ever he could. But still, Henry stayed in the tunnel. Eventually, even Sir Topham Hatt gave up. We shall take away your rails, he said, and leave you here until you're ready to come out of the tunnel. They took up the old rails and built a wall in front of Henry so that other engines wouldn't bump into him. All Henry could do was to watch the trains rushing through the other tunnel. He was very sad because he thought no one would ever see his lovely green paint with red stripes again. As time went on, Edward and Gordon would often pass by. Edward would say, beep, beep, hello. And Gordon would say, "Boop, boop, boop, serves you right." Poor Henry had no steam to answer. His fire had gone out. Soot and dirt from the tunnel had spoiled his lovely green paint and red stripes anyway. How long do you think Henry will stay in the tunnel before he overcomes his fear of the rain and decides to journey out again?
I don't know. Something's wrong here. I usually like green. It reminds me of springtime. It's the color of leaves and grass. But this particular green is the color of fish. Not that I have anything against fish. Some of my best friends are fish. It's just that after what happened to Henry, did I ever tell you about Henry and the fish?
On starry nights when the moon is full and the air still, you can hear the sounds of faraway ships and distant laughter. They echo over the hills and through the valley, down calm canals and sleepy inlets. Every engine knows that these are the sounds that say the harbor is hard at work at the big station by the sea. One night, a special load of fish was ordered. Sir Topham Hatt decided that extra vans must be added to the train that the men call the Flying Kipper. The only vans available were old ones. They had not been used for a long time. Henry waited impatiently by the quayside as Duck shunted them into position. Thomas puffed by with the mail train. Hello, Duck. Going fishing? I'd take care if I were you. Why? Huffed Duck. Well, for one thing, puffed Thomas, remembering his own experience, if fish get into an engine's boiler, they always cause trouble. And for another, fish can be awfully smelly. And I know what I'm talking about. Good night. Henry grunted dreadfully. You'll just have to put up with it, Henry, said his driver. At least the extra load will mean you can have another engine help us up Gordon's Hill. Meanwhile, Duck was waiting at Edward's station so that he could help the heavy train by pushing from behind. Henry made good progress. When they reached Edward's station, his driver stopped the train beyond the platform. Then Henry gave a special signal. Beep, 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 beep. I need help, please. Beep, beep, replied Duck. I won't be long. Duck buffered gently up to Henry's train. He was not coupled on. Henry would then be able to run on without stopping when they reached the top of the hill. Ready, whistled Duck, and off they went. Soon they reached Gordon's Hill. Push hard, puffed Henry. We're doing it, replied Duck. Henry was pulling his train harder than he realized. Duck felt the weight on his buffers slacken. Then Duck noticed something else. There's no sign of a tail lamp, he puffed. He whistled, but there was no reply. Meanwhile, Henry had noticed something too. My train's getting heavier, he thought to himself. I'm slowing down. Then there was trouble. No one was hurt, but a strong smell of fish hung in the air. Next day, Workmen found the broken tail lamp at the bottom of the hill. Sir Topham Hatt spoke kindly to Duck.
The accident wasn't your fault. We should have checked that this tail lamp was fixed on properly. We'll soon have you in working order again.
Thank you, sir, said Duck sadly. Thomas told me to be careful about fish. They got me in a right pickle, didn't they?
What do you think? I'm not sure. The color blue might make some people feel a little blue. I wouldn't want my friends to get the blues when they come to visit. I once met a man who said there was no blue food. So maybe I should try for something more appetizing. What's a color you can eat? I know. Orange.
Gordon was cross.
Why should Henry have a new shape?
He grumbled.
A shape good enough for me is good enough for him. He goes gallivanting off, leaving us to do his work, and comes back saying how happy he feels. It's disgraceful. And there's another thing. Henry whistles too much. No respectable engine ever whistles loudly at stations. It isn't wrong, but we just don't do it.
Poor Henry didn't feel happy anymore.
Never mind, whispered Percy. I'm glad you're home again. I like your whistling. Goodbye, Henry, called Gordon. We're glad to have you with us again, but remember what I said.
Later, Henry stopped at Edward's station.
Hello, Henry, said Edward. You look splendid. I was pleased to hear your happy whistle yesterday.
Thank you, Edward, smiled Henry.
Shh! Can you hear something?
It sounds like Gordon, said Edward, and it ought to be Gordon. But Gordon never whistled like that. It was Gordon. He came rushing down the hill at a tremendous rate. He didn't look at Henry, and he didn't look at Edward. He screamed straight through the station and disappeared.
Well, said Edward.
It isn't wrong, chuckled Henry, but we just don't do it. And he told Edward what Gordon had said. Meanwhile, Gordon screeched along the line. The noise was awful. At the station, everyone covered their ears. Sir Topham Hatt covered his ears, too.
Take him away, he bellowed, and stop that noise.
Gordon puffed sadly away, but he wouldn't stop whistling until two fitters climbed up and knocked his whistle valve in place. That night, Gordon slunk into the shed. He was glad it was empty. It isn't wrong, murmured Henry to no one in particular, but we just don't do it. No one mentioned whistles. Next morning, Henry was enjoying himself enormously. I feel so well, I feel so well, he sang. Trickety-trock, hummed his coaches. Then he saw some boys on a bridge. Beep, beep, hello, he whistled. Oh, he called. The boys didn't wave and take his number. They thought it fun to drop stones on him instead. They've broken our glass! They've broken our glass! Cried the coaches. The passengers weren't hurt, but they were cross.
Call the police.
No, said the driver. Leave it to Henry and me.
What will you do?
They asked.
Can you keep a secret?
Yes, yes.
Well then,
said the driver,
Henry is going to sneeze at those boys.
Lots of people were waiting at the station just before the bridge. They wanted to see what would happen.
Henry has plenty of ashes, said the driver. Please keep all windows shut till we've passed the bridge. Henry's as excited as we are, aren't you, old fellow?
Henry felt more stuffed up than excited. Soon they could see the boys, and they all had stones.
Are you ready, Henry?
Said the driver.
Sneeze hard when I tell you. Now, he said. Achoo! Well done, Henry, laughed his driver. Henry went home, hoping that next time he saw Gordon and the boys, they would have learned not to be so mean.
There. Doesn't that have a nice circus tenty sort of look? Of course, the trouble with having a circus tenty looking front door is that it might attract elephants. And then, where are you? I mean, I've got nothing against elephants, and I know that some of your best friends are elephants. But they are such picky eaters, and they do have a tendency to. But here, I'll show you. Thomas the Tank Engine puffed happily along his branch line with Annie and Clarabelle. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting on the platform. He looked at his watch. Well done, Thomas. You are right on time and really reliable. Thank you, sir, whistled Thomas. Ooh, right on time and really reliable, hummed the coaches. But the big engines were not feeling cheerful at all. Where's Percy, mumbled Henry. He's supposed to fetch our coaches. We get no rest, complained James. He edged angrily onto the turntable and spoke rudely to Henry. What's the matter, Henry? There's no rain today. Stop worrying and do some work instead. I'm not afraid of getting wet anymore, huffed Henry. Anyway, you look silly enough to be a clown. You should join the circus. Oh, whistled Percy. So you've heard the news? What news? About the circus. Percy, what are you talking about? The circus has arrived, explained Percy. I've been shunting special cars. Sir Topham Hatt needs your help, too. The engine soon forgot to be tired and cross. Until it was time for the circus to leave. Then Gordon and Henry were cross all over again when James got to pull the train away. A little later, Sir Topham Hatt returned. Come along, Henry. A tunnel is blocked down the line. You must take some workmen to investigate. Pushing cars, grumbled Henry. They stopped outside the tunnel. The workmen went inside. It was very dark and quiet, but not for long. Help! Shouted the workmen, and they ran out. We started to dig at the block, but it grunted and moved, one said. Rubbish, said the foreman. It's not rubbish. It's big and alive. We're not going in there again. Right, said the foreman. I'll ride in the cars and Henry shall push it out. Wheesh, said Henry unhappily. He had been shut in the tunnel for being afraid of the rain, but this was worse. Something big and alive was inside. Peep, peep. I don't want to go in. Neither do I, said his driver, but we must clear the line. Oh dear, puffed Henry. Then there was trouble. The block was indeed alive and very strong. It began to push the train backwards. Out of the tunnel came Henry, then the cars, and last of all, a large, cross elephant. Well, I never, cried the foreman. The workman gave him some cake. He drank 3 buckets of water and was just about to drink another when Henry let off steam. Cried the elephant. Water went all over Henry. Poor Henry. The elephant and his keeper were soon reunited, but Henry was most upset.
An elephant pushed me. An elephant hooshed me. That night he told the other engines all about it. Gordon and James felt sorry for Henry, but still teased him. First the rain, then an elephant. Whatever will you be afraid of next? Never mind, Henry, murmured Thomas. I think you were brave today, and really reliable, too.
I don't think so. Polka dots just aren't me somehow. I'm more the waltz dot type. Maybe this door painting wasn't such a good idea after all. Remember the unfortunate effect a new paint job had on Percy?
One morning, Percy was impatient. He was wearing a new coat of paint and longed for everyone to see it. The other engines were still dozing, but not Percy. Driver should be here by now. What's he doing? Sleeping, grunted Gordon. But that means I'll be late. The coaches will be waiting, and the passengers will get cross. Rubbish, puffed Henry. It's still early, added James. You just want to show off. No, I don't. Never mind, Percy, said Thomas. It'll soon be time for work. But be careful, or you might run into danger, and Duke is not here to save you. Duke? Stuttered Toby. You mean our hero? A large painting of Duke hung in the engine shed. The very same, said Thomas. Driver told me the story. Listen. And this is the story Thomas told them. Long ago, when Peter Sam was still called Stewart, and Sir Handel Falcon, they worked with Duke on his old railway, but Falcon still had a lot to learn. The manager came to see him. Falcon, I'm pleased with your work so far. Now you must learn a difficult part of the line. We call it the mountain road. Falcon was excited. Yes, please, sir. So tomorrow, when you have a new coat of paint, you will go on it. Duke will explain everything. Huh, thought Falcon. Duke's an old fusspot. Next day came. Listen, warned Duke, the mountain road is difficult. I'll lead. No, replied Falcon, I'll lead. How can I learn the route with you lumbering ahead and blocking the view? Suit yourself, said Duke, but never mind the view. Look at the track. The engine set off. Look at the track, puffed Duke. Never mind the view. Fusspot, replied Falcon. Fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy. The engine's speed grew slower and slower. Don't dawdle, urged Falcon. No hurry, puffed Duke. Soon they approached the tunnel. Falcon didn't like the tunnel. It was curved, and he couldn't see. I want to get out, he sighed. One moment, everything seemed safe. But then, suddenly, Falcon was derailed and hung dangerously over the edge. Duke bravely held on with all his strength. Stop shaking, he called. I can't hold you if you shake. Duke's driver and fireman worked quickly to make the two engines safe again. Then came more trouble. Water, cried Duke's fireman. Duke needs water, quickly. Luckily, there was a workman's cottage nearby. Soon everyone was passing jugs, buckets, kettles, and saucepans filled with water until Duke's thirst was quenched. All the while, Duke was building more strength. At last, with everyone's help, he was able to pull Falcon back onto the rails. Then they started off once more. The manager was waiting at the top station. He apologized for the accident. Your Duke, said the passengers, is a hero. He stood firm like a bulldog and wouldn't let go. Falcon was grateful, too. Thank you for saving me, Duke. I don't know why you bothered after I'd been so rude. Oh, well, replied Duke, you just had a new coat of paint. It would have been a pity if you'd rolled down the mountain and spoiled it.
There! That's the perfect color. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. It's new and exciting, but there's something nice and familiar about it, too. It reminds me of home. In fact, I'd like to open that door and go inside and relax. Oh, paint's still wet. There must be some way. I know. Missy, turn the radio on. I'd like to see a song.
Funding for this program was also provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and the financial support of viewers like you.